Selamat hari Sabat, saudara-saudara yang kekasih dalam Tuhan.
Happy Sabbath, brothers and sisters in Christ.
Pertama-tama kami ucapkan terima kasih kepada paduan suara The Seventh California yang sudah membawakan lagu pujian yang begitu merdu mengangkat hati kita.
First of all, thank you for the seventh vocal group that have uplifted our hearts.
Namanya The Seventh yang nyanyi 6 orang.
They call it the seventh, but there are only 6 of them up here.
Seperti pelajaran sekolah Sabat kita.
Just like our Sabbath school lesson.
6 hari penciptaan tetapi ada 7 hari.
6 days of creations, but there are 7 days.
Terima kasih untuk Bapak dan Ibu Suharjo.
Thank you for the Suharjos.
Bapak Mamahit,
and also Brother Mamahit,
Bapak dan Ibu De Freitas,
and also the Fretes.
Dan sekarang saya serba salah.
And I'm kind of feeling awkward a little bit.
Kalau Bapak Floyd Reebok tidak saya sebut namanya,
Because if I don't mention Brother Floyd Reebok,
dia akan berpikir kenapa saya nyanyi nama saya tidak disebut.
why did I sing but my name wasn't mentioned?
Kalau saya sebut dia bilang saya anggota, kenapa nama saya disebut?
But if I mention him and then he would say I'm a member, why do you have to mention my name?
Kita juga senang ada Ibu Sianturi, senior dan junior bergabung bersama kita. Selamat datang.
And we can also see Miss Sianturi, senior and junior. Welcome.
Khotbah hari Sabat ini dalam bahasa Indonesia judulnya ngobrol-ngobrol soal cerita.
So this morning the sermon is about stories.
Harusnya rencananya khotbahnya ini lucu isinya.
My plan was to make the content of this sermon funny.
Tetapi setelah apa yang terjadi dengan Will Smith, sekarang saya mulai berpikir.
But what just took place with Will Smith, now I'm thinking to myself,
Saya rencana cerita lucu, tiba-tiba nanti ada yang ke depan gaplok.
if I started to tell a joke, I'm afraid someone would come forward and do something.
Itulah sebabnya conference sedang mempertimbangkan mulai Sabat depan pendeta akan berkhotbah pakai helm.
That's why the conference is considering that starting next Sabbath, we should be using a helmet if I'm speaking up here.
Jadi kalau ada orang maju ke depan minimal kepalanya aman.
So at least at the minimum, the head would be protected.
Khotbah hari Sabat ini dibangun di atas buku 2 Raja-Raja pasal 6 dan 7.
So this morning's sermon is being built on the foundation of the book of 2 Kings, chapter 6 and 7.
Ada raja Syria namanya Ben-Hadad.
There's a Syrian king named Ben-Hadad.
Dan dia mengumpulkan tentaranya.
And here in the story, he gathered all his army.
Terinspirasi oleh Vladimir Putin.
He was inspired by Vladimir Putin.
Dia menyerbu Israel.
Then he went ahead and attacked Israel.
Israel dengan ibu kotanya Samaria dikepung.
At that time, Israel and the capital city of Samaria was besieged.
Dan terjadilah kelaparan yang sangat hebat.
Because of that, a great famine happened in that city.
Tidak ada makanan.
There were no food.
Jadi orang sudah tidak lagi berpikir makanan halal atau haram.
So at that time, people are not thinking clean food or unclean food.
Orang sudah tidak lagi berpikir makanan atau bukan makanan.
They no longer think about food or something that cannot be eaten.
Kepala keledai binatang haram.
donkey's head.
Orang jual dan dibeli dengan harga 80 sikal perak.
A donkey's head that was considered unclean was sold for 80 shekels of silver.
Padahal keledai dari mukanya tidak menarik apalagi untuk dimakan.
Here, a donkey is a very unattractive animal, especially the face, the head of it, and now it's being eaten.
Kenapa kepalanya masih mahal?
So then, why is it so expensive? Why is the head was so expensive?
Direbus di air, nanti dimakan seperti sup, minimal masih ada rasa lain daripada hanya rasa air.
So they think that to cook it, at least to maybe boil it, maybe there's some different type of taste to it.
Yang cilaka lagi adalah 1/4 cup dari kotoran burung merpati dijual dengan harga 5 sikal perak. Dan
But even
dibeli orang.
worse to that, it says 1/4 of a cap of dove droppings was sold for 5 shekels of silver.
Kata ukuran cup sendiri tidak tahu artinya apa.
The measurement here, where it says cap, we don't really know what that means.
Tetapi Yosefus menjelaskan ini kurang lebih 1/2 liter.
However, Josephus in his book explained it's about half of a liter.
Bayangkan kotoran burung diperjualbelikan sebagai bahan makanan.
Can you imagine here, dove droppings are being sold for food?
Itu yang terjadi.
That's what happened.
Kita pindah ke pasal 7.
Now we move on to chapter 7.
Ada 4 orang kusta yang ada di luar kota.
Here, there were 4 leprous men that was outside of the city,
Di luar pintu gerbang.
outside the entrance of the gate of the city.
Dan mereka mulai berbicara satu dengan yang lain.
And as they were conversing with one another,
Kenapa kita duduk-duduk di sini sampai mati?
one said, "Why are we sitting here until we die?"
Kalau kita masuk ke dalam kota,
Because if we enter a city
yang mana mereka tidak boleh,
in which they are prohibited to enter the city,
ada kelaparan hebat di sana.
there's a great famine in the city.
Kita akan mati di sana juga.
We would also die in the city.
Kalau kita di sini tidak melakukan apa-apa, kita akan mati juga.
However, we just sit here, we will die also.
Bagaimana kalau kita pergi menyerahkan diri kepada pasukan Syria?
Now, therefore, come and let us just surrender to the army of the Syrians.
Kalau mereka membiarkan kita hidup, kita akan hidup.
If they keep us alive, then we shall live.
Kalau mereka membunuh kita, memang kita dari tadi sudah mau mati.
But if they kill us, then we are going to die anyway.
Maka pada waktu senja bangkitlah keempat orang ini.
So then they rose at twilight
Pergi kepada perkemahan pasukan Syria.
to go to the camp of the Syrians.
Ketika mereka tiba di tepi perkemahan,
And when they had come to the outskirt of the camp,
mereka begitu terkejut mendapati tidak ada satu orang pun di sana.
they were surprised because no one was there.
Apa yang terjadi?
What happened?
Karena Tuhan telah menyebabkan pasukan Syria mendengar suatu suara.
For the Lord had caused the army of the Syrians to hear a noise.
Suara kereta perang, suara kuda, suara pasukan yang besar.
Noise of chariots and the noise of horses, the noise of a great army.
Maka mereka berkata satu sama lain,
So they said to one another,
lihat, Raja Israel sudah menyewa melawan kita raja dari orang Heti dan raja dari orang Mesir.
"Hey, look, the king of Israel has hired against us the kings of the Hittites and the kings of the Egyptians."
Maka bangkitlah mereka dan lari pada waktu senja.
So they arose and fled at twilight
Dan meninggalkan perkemahan dalam keadaan utuh.
and left the camp intact,
Itulah yang terjadi.
and that's what had happened.
Sekarang kita lihat lebih jauh apa sebetulnya yang terjadi.
We take a look and dig in a little deeper to see what had actually happened.
Mereka mendengar suara.
They heard a noise.
Mereka tidak melihat apa-apa.
And they didn't see anything.
Tetapi mereka membayangkan bahwa Raja Israel menyewa raja-raja kerajaan besar.
But in their imagination, they thought that the king of Israel had hired other kings around them.
Raja orang Heti, raja orang Mesir, itu adalah kerajaan-kerajaan besar.
The
di
kings of
zaman
the
itu.
Hittites, the kings of the Egyptians, those are mighty kingdoms.
Karena mereka membayangkan bahwa Raja Israel menyewa pasukan-pasukan hebat,
Because they imagine that the king of Israel had hired this great army and kingdoms.
maka bunyi yang mereka dengar itu,
So the sound or the noise that they have heard,
mereka simpulkan sebagai bunyi kereta perang, suara kuda dan suara pasukan.
they come up to a conclusion that those are the noise of the chariots and the horses of war.
Lalu mereka melarikan diri.
So then they fled.
Apa yang terjadi?
And what happened?
Kita adalah hasil dari cerita-cerita yang kita ciptakan sendiri.
We are the product of the story that we ourselves invented.
Mereka lari bukan karena diancam oleh siapa-siapa.
And they fled not because they were threatened by anyone,
Mereka lari akibat dari bayangan dan cerita yang mereka ciptakan sendiri.
but they ran away, they fled because of the imaginations and the story that they have invented themselves.
Karena mereka sudah menciptakan suatu cerita,
Because they have invented a story,
semua yang didengar dicocokkan dengan cerita yang sudah dibangun sendiri itu.
and everything that they heard was then to be put together with the story or the narrative they have invented.
Padahal sebetulnya realitasnya apa yang terjadi?
But in actuality, what was the reality?
2 Raja-Raja 6 ayat 24 dan 25.
2 Kings 6, verse 24 and 25.
Ben-Hadad mengepung Samaria.
It says here, Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, gathered and besieged Samaria.
Akibat kepungannya yang berhasil itu Samaria kelaparan.
And because of this action, there's a great famine in Samaria.
Masalahnya,
However, the problem was
Samaria adalah kota bertembok.
Samaria was a fortified city.
Mereka tidak bisa melihat kelaparan yang terjadi di dalam kota itu.
They weren't able to witness or to see by themselves the famine that happened inside that fortified city.
Karena mereka tidak dapat melihat, mereka tidak tahu bahwa di dalam kota ada kelaparan hebat.
Because they can physically see, they did not know the famine, the great famine that took place inside that city.
Jadi sekarang kita sebagai pembaca tahu dua realitas, mereka hanya tahu satu realitas.
But now, as a reader, now we know about two realities, but yet the people, the Syrian king, know only one reality.
Sebagai pembaca kita tahu mereka sedang dalam posisi offense, mereka sedang posisi lebih kuat, Israel lebih lemah.
As a reader, we know that the Syrians are actually in the advantaged position and the Israelites were in the weaker position.
Tetapi karena mereka tidak bisa melihat apa yang ada di balik tembok kota,
But because they weren't able to see what lies inside of that fortified city,
mereka menciptakan sendiri di dalam pikiran mereka realitas menurut mereka.
they invented themselves their own reality according to their own story.
Di sini ceritanya harusnya jadi lucu.
When this story should now become funny.
Sementara Samaria sedang kelaparan,
While the city of Samaria was in a great famine,
itu realitasnya.
that was the reality.
Dalam bayangan mereka, Raja Israel sanggup untuk menyewa tentara-tentara dari pasukan besar.
But in the imagination of the Syrians, that the king of Israel was able to hire this great army, these great kingdoms.
Makan saja sudah susah, bagaimana mau menyewa dan membayar tentara-tentara negara besar?
It is even hard for them to eat because of the great famine. How were they able to hire all the other armies?
dengan menggambarkan bahwa Israel itu hebat, maka sekarang tidak ada untungnya posisi mereka yang sedang dalam posisi menyerang.
By imagining that Israel is actually in a greater position now, they themselves cannot realize that, or do not realize that they are actually the one that is in the advantageous position.
Sayang, mereka harusnya menang perang dengan mudah.
Unfortunately, it's very unfortunate because they should be victorious rather easily.
Tetapi mereka kalah perang bukan karena dikalahkan, mereka kalah oleh karena cerita yang mereka bangun sendiri tentang siapa musuh yang sedang mereka hadapi.
And here they were not defeated physically, but they were defeated by their own imagination, by their own story, thinking about who was this king of Israel that they are about to fight.
Mereka tidak tahu bahwa orang yang mereka anggap hebat ini sedang rebutan membeli kotoran burung untuk makanan.
They didn't realize that this great king that they imagine now is fighting with just trying to eat the birds dropping.
Kepala keledai dianggap makanan mewah.
The head of a donkey was considered a luxury food.
Itulah sebabnya sekarang mereka menjadi korban cerita yang mereka bangun sendiri.
And here then they become
The victim.
the victim of their own story.
Dengar suara,
They heard a noise,
nanti Anda tahu itu suara apa sebetulnya.
and later on you will find out what noise was there.
Karena mereka bayangkan bahwa Raja Israel itu hebat,
And because they imagined that the king of Israel was so mighty,
suara itu mereka bayangkan sebagai suara kereta kuda, suara pasukan berkuda, dan pasukan tentara.
they imagined that the noise was chariots of the army of the kingdom of Israel.
Dan terbirit-biritlah mereka lari.
So then they fled.
Hati-hati jangan sampai kita melumpuhkan diri sendiri dengan cerita-cerita yang kita ciptakan sendiri.
Be careful that we do not paralyze ourselves with the story that we ourselves invented.
Dalam teori sastra ada yang disebut counter naratif.
In the study of language, there's what we call counter narrative.
Yaitu kemampuan untuk menciptakan suatu cerita yang kita bangun sendiri untuk menghadapi kenyataan hidup di mana kita terjebak di dalamnya.
A counter narrative is to create, to invent your own story to counter against the reality that you are trapped into.
Jadi ini adalah kebalikan dari apa yang terjadi dengan pasukan Syria tadi.
So this is the opposite of what had happened to the army of the Syrians.
Di dalam counter naratif, orang-orang terjebak dalam suatu keadaan yang secara fisik dan realitas tidak mungkin.
In this scenario, counter narrative, it's people are trapped in a situation where it seems to be impossible.
Tetapi pikiran mereka menolak untuk menyerah.
But their imagination, their thoughts refuse to surrender.
Dan karena mereka menolak untuk menyerah dalam pikirannya, dalam realitasnya nanti mereka bisa mengalahkan realitas yang tidak mungkin itu.
And because they refuse to surrender in their own mind, they are able then to overcome this reality that they are trapped into.
Kebanyakan orang menyerah di dalam keadaan di mana mereka berada.
Many of us would surrender in the reality that we are trapped in.
Yang lebih parah adalah pasukan Syria.
And sometimes even worse than the Syrian army.
Mereka dalam keadaan baik, dalam keadaan bagus, tetapi karena cerita-cerita yang mereka ciptakan sendiri, mereka menjadi menderita tanpa perlu.
They were in a good position, but because of the story that they invented themselves, they are in a situation that they shouldn't be.
Ada seorang penulis Amerika namanya Mark Twain.
There's an American writer by the name of Mark Twain.
Untuk menggambarkan kehidupan.
And to describe how life is,
Dia mengambil ilustrasi dari adu anjing.
he took an illustration from a dog fight.
Kalau di Sunda yang ada adu ayam, adu domba, di sini lebih senang orang adu anjing.
In Indonesian, that would be a chicken fight or maybe a goat fight, but here, dog fight in the United States.
What is chicken fight? Namanya chicken, mana chicken berani fight? Okay, it's okay.
Can you
This
imagine
is
chicken
language
fight?
problem.
It's
Biasanya
chicken, how
orang
can they
chicken out. How can chicken fight? It's okay. Dia bilang, bukan ukuran anjing yang penting dalam perkelahian, tetapi kemampuan dan kemauan untuk berkelahi di dalam anjing itu yang menentukan.
So he said it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog.
Dari mana saya tahu ini?
How do I know this?
Ini orang sedang bilang tentang Rusia melawan Ukraine.
As we experience, and I think he's talking about what's going on with Russia and Ukraine.
Badan Rusia lebih besar, tapi mungkin lemaknya saja yang banyak.
You can see Russia seems mighty, but it's just an outer appearance.
Saya harus hati-hati mengkhotbahkan khotbah ini.
I really have to be careful when preaching this message.
Karena bagi orang Indonesia khotbah itu suci.
Because for us Indonesian, we consider a sermon holy.
Maka mendengar pendetanya berkhotbah dan mengambil ilustrasi anjing berkelahi,
And listening to their pastor using an illustration of a dog fight.
maka khotbah itu harus dipraktekkan dalam kehidupan sehari-hari.
So you think that you have to practice this sermon in your daily lives.
Maka mulailah menggonggong satu sama lain di
And
gereja.
now you start to bark to one another.
Maka untuk membetulkan hal itu, saya harus kutip seorang lain.
So then to correct that line of thinking, I have to quote from another person.
Yang namanya hidup itu bukan untuk dihabiskan berkelahi melawan anjing-anjing lain.
And that this person said, life is not about fighting another dog,
Tetapi bagaimana membangun semangat berjuang di dalam diri sendiri.
but it is about how to build the dog in you.
Itulah yang disebut counter naratif.
And that, what we call counter narrative.
Dan inilah yang terjadi kepada 4 orang kusta tadi.
And that's what happened with the 4 leprous men.
Bagaimana realitas mereka?
What were their reality?
Mereka kusta.
They have leprosy, obviously.
Mereka tidak punya cerita untuk diceritakan.
They really don't have any story to be told.
Pinjam bahasanya orang Manado, mereka itu sudah cerita mati.
Manadonese would say cerita mati.
Masih hidup tapi ceritanya sudah mati.
They are alive, but really they are dead.
Mereka lihat kepada tubuhnya bayang-bayang kematian.
And when they see their own bodies, they can see the shadows of death.
Mereka melihat kota, mereka tidak boleh masuk.
And when they see the city, they weren't able to enter the city.
Kondisi mereka itu membuat orang lain yang bercerita tentang mereka dan memaksakan cerita orang kepada diri mereka.
And their situation is literally forcing other people to put them in a story or a narrative regarding themselves.
Imam membangun cerita.
The priest would build a story about them.
Kamu kusta.
You are a leper.
Maka mereka sekarang jadi korban dari keputusan imam. Seluruh masyarakat mengatakan kamu kusta, maka sekarang mereka memikul cerita yang diciptakan orang bagi diri mereka.
And here you can see they are the victim of the narrative of the priest who said they are lepers. And now they have to follow along to this reality that has been created by the priest.
Benar, itulah realitas mereka. Tidak bisa bergerak.
And that's what happened with them. They weren't able to move.
Tetapi tiba-tiba orang yang dalam keadaan tidak berdaya ini melakukan apa yang disebut counter naratif.
But then these people who were seem in a hopeless situation, they did something that what we call counter narrative.
Mereka berkata satu sama yang lain, kenapa kita di sini?
They say to one another, why are we here?
Gantinya mengeluh, menyerah kepada keadaan, mereka berani memulai perbincangan.
Instead of surrendering and complaining about their own situation, they started a conversation.
Mereka menolak untuk menjadi korban dari keadaan di mana mereka berada.
They refuse to become a victim of the situation which they are in.
Dan mereka melakukan asesmen yang berbasiskan logika.
And now they're able to make a logical assessment about themselves.
Bayangkan tadi tentara Asiria yang begitu hebat, bersenjata, begitu lengkap, membangun cerita emosi tanpa logika.
And can you compare it to the mighty Syrian army who invented and built up a story, a narrative that paralyzed their ability?
Ini orang kusta tidak berdaya bisa membangun cerita berdasarkan logika.
But here, then these hopeless, leprous men are able to build up a narrative, a story that will put them in an advantage.
Apa logikanya?
And what were their logics?
Semua pilihan akan berakhir kepada kematian. Itulah logika yang mereka
And
miliki.
their logics are all the choices would lead unto death.
Kecuali satu.
Except for one.
Satu pilihan akan menunda kematian lebih lama daripada option yang lain.
Because one has at least a glimpse to prolong their death.
Berdiri di sini kita mati.
If we just stood here, we would die.
Ke kota kita ikut mati.
If we enter the city, we would die.
Datang kepada musuh,
If we come to our enemy,
mungkin kita mati.
perhaps we may die,
Tapi belum tentu.
but it's not certain that we would.
Mereka sudah mengalahkan kematian di dalam logika mereka.
You can see that they have defeated death in their own logic.
Itulah sebabnya sekarang mereka memegang penuh kontrol situasi karena pikirannya sudah mengalahkan realitas yang ada.
Because that is why they were able to control the situation, because their logic was able to defeat.
Itu bahayanya orang yang sudah menyerah sebelum pertandingan dimulai.
And that is the danger of surrendering before even the fight started.
Kesusahan dalam pekerjaan,
Hardship in finding employment,
masalah kesehatan,
problems with health,
masalah rumah tangga,
problems with family.
apapun itu, kalau kita sudah menyerah, semua tinggal ikut.
Whatever that it is, if we surrender, then the reality would come.
Tetapi kalau kita secara logika bisa melakukan counter naratif, seberat apapun itu, kita bisa keluar.
However, if we're able to make a logical assessment and create a counter narrative, then we would be able to survive.
Sekarang tiba-tiba kita lihat benturan antara dua cerita.
And now here suddenly we can see a collision of two stories.
Kata kuncinya adalah senja.
The key word here is twilight.
Pada waktu senja, 4 orang kusta berjalan ke perkemahan tentara Syria.
In one story, at twilight, 4 leprous men were walking to the camp of the Syrians.
Pada senja yang pada senja yang sama, tentara Asiria mendengar ada orang datang.
And in the same twilight, the Syrians' army heard someone's coming.
Yang datang sebetulnya siapa?
So who were actually coming?
Orang kusta 4 orang datang.
The 4 leprous men.
Tetapi cerita yang dibangun oleh pasukan Syria adalah, waduh, tentara Mesir disewa, tentara Heti disewa. Mereka bingung karena cerita yang mereka ciptakan.
But what was in the imaginations of the Syrian army were these big kingdoms that the kingdom of Israel had hired, so they became confused and fled.
Bayangkan orang kusta jalan, berdiri aja susah bagaimana jalan.
Can you imagine this 4 leprous men? It is even hard to stand up. Now they were just walking.
Dan tentu saja itu ada berkat Tuhannya.
But of course, that was the providence of God.
Yaitu Tuhan membuat tentara Syria mendengar 4 orang datang seperti pasukan hebat datang.
God made that the sound of these 4 leprous men walking sounds like a great army of chariots.
Tapi tetap Tuhan tidak memberi hayal kepada mereka ada pasukan Mesir dan Heti datang. Itu ciptaan mereka sendiri.
But God didn't give them visions or dreams about the Hittites and the Egyptians' army coming to fight them. That was their own invention of story.
Bagaimana kita mau membangun cerita ketika kita menjalani hidup?
How can we build a story as we continue our journey in our life?
4 orang kusta ini bisa membangun cerita yang memampukan mereka keluar dari keadaan yang sangat
These
sukar.
4 leprous men were able to build a narrative that would make them able to come out of their situation.
Karena tadi nama Tuhan sudah disebut,
Because God's name was mentioned in that story,
maka kita perlu lihat cerita ini di dalam skala yang lebih besar lagi.
I think we need to see it in a bigger scale,
Yaitu di pasal 6.
namely in chapter 6.
Kembali bicara tentang realitas yang diciptakan sendiri.
We're once again talking about a reality that was invented by self.
Tetapi ini adalah sekarang realitas rohani yang diciptakan sendiri.
But now this is a spiritual reality that was invented.
Ingat kota itu sedang dikepung,
Remember, at that time the city was besieged,
raja jalan,
and the king was walking around
seorang perempuan berteriak.
and then a woman cried out.
Ini hebatnya perempuan ya.
And this is what's mighty about a woman, right?
Biar lapar, biar lemah, suaranya masih keras.
Even though she's weak, she's hungry, but the voice is still loud.
Raja, tolong saya.
And she said, "Help, my lord, O king."
Lalu tiba-tiba sekarang raja mengekspresikan realitas yang dia bangun.
And now, hearing to the cry of the woman, the king started to express his own reality that he invented.
Kalau Tuhan tidak menolong kamu,
And he said, if the Lord does not help you,
bagaimana saya bisa bantu kamu?
where can I find help for you?
Dari mana dia tahu Tuhan tidak mau menolong?
How does he know that God was not about to help him?
Kenapa dia tidak ajak perempuan itu, mari kita berdoa supaya Tuhan tolong kita.
He could have said to that woman, let us pray so God will help us.
Dia mengambil kesimpulan, Tuhan tidak mau tolong.
But he made his own conclusion that God is or refused to help them.
Tidak memanggil nama Tuhan, tidak berdoa, dia katakan Tuhan tidak tolong.
Didn't call upon God's name, didn't pray. He just said God would not help.
Dan ini yang terjadi.
And this is what happened.
Orang ini adalah Raja Israel.
This person was the king of Israel,
Pemimpin dari umat Tuhan.
the leader of the people of God.
Tetapi Tuhan tidak relevan dalam kehidupannya sehari-hari.
But God was not relevant in his own daily life.
Banyak umat Tuhan umat Tuhan status, tetapi sejauh mana relevansi Tuhan dalam kehidupan mereka.
There are many of us saying that we are God's people, but yet God is not relevant in our lives.
Lalu dia tanya kepada perempuan itu setelah ngomel-ngomel tentang Tuhan. Sekarang
So
dia yang jadi, oke, saya nggak boleh katakan itu. Tadinya
that
saya hampir
he has-
katakan dia yang lebih kayak perempuan, tetapi banyak laki-laki lebih perempuan dari perempuan. Jadi
So here the king is
Don't
actually
forget about
acting like a woman. Many men are acting like a woman.
ngomel-ngomel dia tanya, apa persoalannya?
So then he said, what's troubling you?
Dia tunjuk kepada temannya.
So then this woman pointed to her friend.
Dia ini janji kemarin, ayo kita makan anakmu, nanti besok anak saya kita makan.
Okay, then she said, this my friend is, she said, give your son that we may eat him today and we will eat my son tomorrow.
Kita sudah makan anak saya,
So now we ate him,
hari ini saya mau makan, anaknya dia kasih sembunyi katanya.
and now I wanted to eat, but now she hit her son.
Itu problemnya.
That was the problem.
Lalu apa yang dilakukan raja?
So what did the king do?
Dia sobek pakaiannya,
Tore up his clothes,
begitu dramatis.
very dramatic.
Lalu ayat 31.
And verse 31,
Tuhan akan menghukum saya
it says, God would punish me
kalau kepala Elia masih bersambung dengan badannya.
if the head of Elijah, the son of Shaphat, remains on him today.
Apa hubungannya Elisa bukan Elia. Kalau kepala Elisa masih tersambung dengan badannya.
What if the head of Elijah remains on him today?
Apa hubungan Elisa dengan persoalan ini?
What is the relationship between Elijah and this problem?
Karena dia frustrasi terhadap Tuhan,
Because the king's frustration to God,
dia tidak bisa lihat Tuhan,
he was not able to see God.
maka Elisa yang mau dia potong.
So then he directed his anger to Elijah.
Tapi itu kan nggak benar.
But it's not right.
Kenapa?
Why?
Musuh dia itu Ben-Hadad bukan Elisa.
Because you see his enemy was Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria.
Kalau dia mau potong leher Ben-Hadad yang dia potong. Kenapa
If-
jadi Elisa yang
If
dicari-cari?
there's someone that he should have decapitated, it would be the head of Ben-Hadad, not Elijah.
Kalau dia bisa mengalahkan Ben-Hadad, persoalan selesai.
Because if he was able to defeat Ben-Hadad, then the problem would be solved.
Tapi dia potong Elisa, apa untungnya?
But if we kill Elijah, what would be the advantage to that?
Hanya satu untungnya.
Only one advantage.
Minimal rasa puas bisa bunuh orang walaupun orang yang salah.
Or at least the satisfaction to kill someone, or even if that person was the wrong person.
Lihat apa yang terjadi.
But then see what happened.
Dia sedang perang.
He was in the middle of a war.
Pemimpin dari musuhnya jelas, Ben-Hadad.
The leader of his enemy was clear. It was Ben-Hadad.
Di sini dia dalam posisi terdesak.
And here he's in a very difficult position.
Yang dia cari leher Elisa.
And what he seek for to kill was Elijah.
Bagaimana pikiran Anda tentang Raja Israel ini?
So what would you think? What is your impression about the king of Israel?
Jawaban saya, dia itu teman saya.
And my answer would be, he is my friend.
Saya pusing urusan gereja, leher istri saya yang saya hantam.
I'm flabbergasted about the problem in church, but then I'm directing my anger towards my wife.
Saya banyak persoalan di tempat pekerjaan, anak saya yang saya marah-marahin.
I have many problems at work, but my children would be the victim of my anger.
Saya stres dengan hidup, pasangan hidup saya yang saya persalahkan.
I'm stressed with life, and I would blame my life's partner.
Raja Israel adalah kita-kita juga.
The king of Israel is really describing our lives.
Dan itu yang terjadi kalau tidak ada Tuhan dalam hidup.
And that what would happen if God is not in our lives.
Untungnya raja itu ketemu Nabi Elisa.
Fortunately, the king met Elijah.
Ketika ketemu Elisa dia katakan, sesungguhnya, sepasti-pastinya kesusahan ini datang dari Tuhan.
When he met Elijah, he said, surely this calamity is from the Lord.
Dari mana dia tahu?
Why did he know that?
Bayangan dia sendiri.
His own imagination.
Raja kafir mengambil inisiatif menyerang, yang dia persalahkan Tuhan.
The Syrian king is the one that's taking the initiative to invade, but he blamed upon God.
Untuk apa saya setia kepada Tuhan?
What should I be? Why should I even be faithful to God?
Untung saya yang baca ceritanya.
Fortunately, I am the one that is reading the story.
Kalau saya ada di saya bilang, memangnya kamu pernah setia sama Tuhan?
If that was me in that situation, I would be asking, were you ever be faithful to God in the first place?
Dan Elisa menawarkan naratif yang lain.
But then Elijah here offered a different narrative.
Cerita Tuhan.
The story of God.
Dengar firman Tuhan.
And he said, here, thus says the Lord.
Inilah yang Tuhan katakan.
This is what the Lord say.
Jadi dia sibuk dengan naratifnya, Elisa memberi counter naratif.
So the king was busy with his own narrative, and here Elijah gave him a counter narrative.
Besok,
Tomorrow, he said,
semangkok tepung yang paling mahal harganya cuma 1 sikal.
a very fine flour shall be sold for only a shekel.
2 ikat jelai harganya cuma 1 sikal.
2 seahs of barley for a shekel.
Ingat, kotoran burung sekarang harganya saja 5 sikal.
But remember earlier that even the droppings of bird cost 5 shekels.
Kepala keledai harganya 80 sikal.
The head of a donkey cost 80 shekels.
Dua-duanya bukan makanan.
And those were not food.
Tetapi besok makanan yang paling mewah harganya cuma 1 sikal.
However, he said that tomorrow, the most luxurious food, it will be only for a shekel.
Kenapa?
Why?
Karena itu Tuhan punya cerita.
Because this was God's narrative.
Ada pertanyaan yang sangat mengganggu pikiran saya.
And that is one question that really bothered my thinking.
Kenapa Elisa mengatakan besok Tuhan akan bertindak?
Why did Elisha said that tomorrow God is going to do something?
Kenapa tidak jauh-jauh hari Tuhan sudah menyelamatkan mereka?
How come he just didn't do it way earlier than when they were in trouble?
Kenapa pertolongan Tuhan hanya datang besok?
How come the deliverance of God will only come tomorrow?
Jawabannya,
The answer?
karena sore itu ada 4 orang kusta yang bergerak ke arah tentara Syria.
The answer would be because on that twilight there would be 4 leprous men walking toward the camp of the Syrians.
Maka kelimpahan itu baru akan terjadi besok.
And therefore what is going to take place is going to happen tomorrow.
Kalau saja ke-4 orang kusta itu tidak bergerak, Tuhan tidak punya cerita penyelamatan.
If these 4 leprous men didn't decide to walk into the camp of the Syrian, then God didn't have a story.
Tuhan punya banyak cerita untuk gereja ini.
God have many wonderful stories for His church.
Tuhan punya banyak cerita untuk masing-masing kita.
God has many wonderful stories for our lives.
Pertanyaannya, cerita macam apa yang kita ciptakan untuk diri kita sendiri?
But the question would be what type of story that we would create in our own imagination.
Jangan sampai cerita-cerita yang kita bangun justru melumpuhkan rencana-rencana indah yang Tuhan sedang ingin lakukan dalam hidup kita.
Don't allow the narratives of the story that we created or invented prevented from God to create His own story in our lives.
Ingat keempat orang kusta ini.
Remember these 4 leprous men.
Kondisi mereka tidak memungkinkan untuk hidup.
Their condition were impossible to continue on living.
Mereka bisa menciptakan cerita di mana mereka menjadi saluran dan alat berkat bagi seluruh bangsa.
However, they were able to create this story, a narrative in which enabled them to be the channel of blessings to the whole nation.
Marilah kita belajar bikin cerita.
Let us learn to create a story.
Pertanyaannya, cerita macam apa?
Question would be, what type of story?
Ketika keadaan mendesak, belajar berdoa untuk bisa menciptakan counter naratif.
When things are hard, pray that we may be able to learn to create a counter narrative.
Mari kita berdoa.
Let us pray.
Tuhan Bapa di sorga, terima kasih untuk kesempatan kami bisa beribadah pada hari Sabat ini. Terutama pada saat ini kami bisa membaca cerita tentang hebatnya pengaruh cerita dalam kehidupan pribadi-pribadi. Ajarlah kami untuk lebih kreatif di dalam menciptakan cerita. Ajarlah kami untuk belajar menciptakan counter naratif ketika keadaan hidup mendesak dan menghimpit kami. Di atas segalanya, kiranya cerita-cerita kami adalah bagian dari cerita besar, yaitu cerita yang Engkau hendak lakukan dalam hidup kami masing-masing. Di dalam nama Tuhan Yesus kami berdoa. Amin.